Hey, today is August the 20th, Wednesday, and that for me is roleplay day. Before everyone gets here, I do kind of need to get into a GM mood. Not happening just yet, but hey, this is what I'm doing in the video because it's going to help me a bit. I'm going to give you recaps of the last games I've played to get me up to speed for tonight's game. Alright, first off, let me go ahead and tell you who's in my party. We've got a Cornate Berserker, a Night Lord, an Iadoltrix Magos of Forge Pollux, and coming in much later, about the second or third session, was a Plaguemeister from the Tome of Decay. The first two, the Cornate Berserker and the Night Lord, are both from the Tome of Blood. Very combat-oriented classes. I mean, they're Astartes. I don't know what the fuck you expect. Them not being combat-oriented, that'd be silly. And Astartes not focusing on ripping people in half? Get out of town. But hey, the Iadoltrix Magos, that is a Heretic Psyker. So, you know, big old grabby claws, mechadendrites, and mechanical tentacles, also with the ability to push things with her mind. Really fun archetype to play. The last one, the Plaguemeister, is a pretty much dedicated medic who, upon healing people, infects them with diseases and can actually cause possession on accident. So, we got big, heavy combat dude, kind of sneaky, scary combat dude, got a tech wizard, got health care benefits. Yeah, it's a good party. I'd go there on Saturday. I don't know if you ever had Mountain Explosion. It's pretty gross. We don't have many drinks in this here household. But continuing with the things that I'm going to tell you. The first session, 1. So you see, the party is part of a gigantic mercenary warband within the Screaming Vortex, specifically the Ragged Helix section of the Vortex. And having two heavily combat-oriented Astartes, they're actually paid out a lot to go do shit. So they get this lovely mission from a pirate prince, who happened to figure, hey, buying these dudes is probably cheaper than wasting away the lives of all my frilly pirates. So, the mission. E-mission. Have you ever read Broken Chains? It's the little starty start mission for Black Crusade. It's free on fantasyflightgames.com.net.org. You can download it now for free. You can play it. It's pretty good. It's one of probably the best free little stories they have out there. I love it. But anyways, I took that book and I was like, you know, this needs orcs. It needs a lot of orcs. So I took the ship, the Chains of Judgment. In the booklet, there was a cat. Her name is Trigger. I live with 3 cats. I am very allergic to cats. You'll be the death of me. But anyways, I took the booklet. At the very end of it, the Chains of Judgment, which is an Inquisition prison barge, it gets sucked right into the Screaming Vortex. And that's actually where I'm starting this mission off. The Chains of Judgment pops out into the Screaming Vortex, near the Ragged Helix, and pirate princes all around are just like, oh man, new ship, I gotta add that to my fleet, because I don't have many, I guess. But before anyone can get to it, a whole bunch of orc raiders, orc freebooters, orc pirates, shiver me greenskins. They roll up in their cruiser and they attach some big old orky umbilical cords to it and they start boarding it. Not boring, boarding. They start boarding it. Now, one of the pirate princes who's after the ship does hire the party, and they're just like, yo, clear out them orcs, man. We don't like that kind of thing. Green? I don't like broccoli. Or asparagus. I mean, the color green's alright, but orcs, I don't like them. So, you know, the Space Marines and the Heretic, they get sent out, brought out there by the Pirate Prince themselves, and on a little gun cutter built for boarding action, melt their way through the hull using the big old space melter. They get on in there, they start out in a Medicaid bay. First thing they notice is it's dark as hell. Hey, that's not a problem for the Night Lord. Night Lord's like, I see everything, and the coordinate is like, what do your Nostroman eyes see? And he's like, I see cryo chambers. Hey, there's cryo tubes and pods, but guess what? Most of them are empty. Most of them. Some have dead corpses, and some look like they've been bursted open, and all contents have been taken out. My nose is itchy. My nose is itchy. This is your fault. You don't care. Animals don't have opinions. Anyways, so cryotubes, some empty, some broken into, some with dead corpses. That's spooky. They're like, oh no, there must be escaped whatever was in here. And in the room, they also find a cogitator, which they learn pretty much everything they need to know. They learn that this was an inquisitorial prison barge. They learned that this room was housing very, very, very dangerous criminals. They learned that some of them were opened as a fail-safe. And whoever was in here has been out for quite a while. Since the Chains of Judgment have in fact been out of the warp and into the Screaming Vortex, which for them has been about 2 months now. The orcs have been there about a month. Anyways, continuing with the thing. They don't really stay there that long. They get what they need to know. They actually access a map servo skull, who pops up, follows them around, and gives them a GPS display of where they are on the ship, and that's kind of nice for them. But global SPS? Ship positioning skull? Ship positioning skull, right there. Got it. Yes. Ship positioning skull. It's the information kiosk skull. That's better. Information kiosk skull. It floats around and hovers and gives them information, and they explore the Medicaid deck, and they find, holy shit, most things are gone. They find it soon. Going into a room, they find a lot of medical equipment, a lot of machinery kind of piled up all around the room. And with a quick little bit of insight inspection, they find that there are things living in this. Now, the Idolatrix Magi, she specializes in mutants. She wants to study mutants, she wants to create mutants for weaponized purposes. So, what crawls out is very familiar to her. It is a strain of Holgeist, whatever that's called. It's a ship mutant thing. But rather than loner, this is a pack-hunting creature. So they swarm out. Now, at this point, the Cornate Berserker had split off to go choppy-chop things. So this is just the Night Lord and the Idolatrix Magi. A fight ensues. Grenades are used just because the Night Lord gets a little... Now, before I continue, Drew and David, the Cornate Berserker and the Night Lord, they've really never really had much contact with 40k. This is a brand new thing to them. They don't exactly understand what an Astartes is. I've had them read short stories, but a few short stories don't do Space Marines that much justice. Sugar came over to give me a kiss. But anyways, Space Marines, they kind of don't know what's going on with those things. So David's first instinct was, oh god, swarms of mutants, gotta throw a grenade! Rather than, I have a sword made of chains. I can rip through everything. So he blows them up, causes a bit of avalanche of machinery, destroys anything that could have been of use in there, mind you, and skips on his merry way. Meanwhile, the Cornate Berserker is wandering the halls of the ship and actually comes into a room that is no longer a room. It is completely blasted into space, and the door had pretty much pressure sealed it. So he opens it and then vacuumed out. He manages to catch himself. The door automatically closes, so he's pretty much just floating there. He doesn't want to go back to the where he came from. He keeps conniving. He keeps clawing his way through this area and comes across another door. Now, immediately upon stepping into this door, he is greeted by some glowing eyes in a dark ass room. I don't know about you, but glowy eyes in a dark ass room, that's not good. I don't like it. So he's like, what's going on here? And the eyes replied, sup, cousin? It was more of something along the lines of, hail, cousin. Turns out it was a Thousand Sun sorcerer, escaped from... and on the prison barge. The Cornate Berserker's like, I don't like this Zinch thing, but hello, how are you? And the Thousand Sun's like, bored. I've been here for a while. I'm gonna bind your soul to mine so I have a bodyguard, okay? Cornate Berserker's like, I'm not down with that, bro. I'm gonna chop you. And Thousand Sun Sorcerer's like, ding. And that little ding calls chains up from the warp and reality, bursting through the ship and latching on to the Cornate guy. He is strung up by chains, and though his muscles are strong enough to break the physical ones, his mind is not strong enough to break the psychic ones. So there he is, bound up by the wall, chains jutting through his flesh. He's bleeding all over the place. He don't care. He's Cornate. He likes that kind of thing. Using his Vox Link, he talks to the Night Lord, and Night Lord's like, oh man, I gotta go save my bud. So he flies through places to get there. It does not take long. The Thousand Sun Sorcerer is in the middle of a ritual at this point, and a fight ensues as soon as the Night Lord and the Idolatrix Magi get there. And the fight goes a lot like this. Imagine this is the Thousand Sun Sorcerer, and this is the Night Lord. The Thousand Sun Sorcerer uses a kind shield and pretty much puts a psychic barrier up. And the Night Lord each turn decides, I'm going to use my jetpack and slam into this repeatedly until it breaks. That's not working. The Adultrix Magi actually generates enough psychic force. And this was a fucking amazing roll, mind you. I was impressed. To actually shatter the kind shield, or at least weaken it enough for the Night Lord to get through. Now, the Thousand Sun Sorcerer does dodge the initial blow, but in the Night Lord's I don't want to deal with this attitude, slaps a goddamn Melt-A-Bomb right onto the fellow. With his last breath, I suppose, he says, well, if I die, I'm going to be ripping this World Eater apart. Word Eater. So using his psychic powers, as soon as he gets melted, the last bit of psychic consciousness uses the chains to pull apart pieces of the the World Eater. Now, luckily for Drew, who is the World Eater's player, he's got a really good special rule where he can kind of just ignore all critical damage, wounds, or whatever. So he goes ahead and uses his Fate Point and does that. And though he's still bleeding out, he doesn't lose any wounds. And oh, by the way, this sorcerer kicked the hell out of everyone. The entire party was just downed and damaged. So they retreat back to their little ship pod gun cutter that they got on the ship with. They didn't face a single orc this session. Well, that being said, they wait there for like 3 days. Story time, 3 days. They don't have a time limit with the Pirate Prince, so they can afford this, and they have a decent amount of food and utilities on the ship. Or on their gun cutter. So that's fine. So they rest for 3 days, get better, and then they head out. And that was the end of the first session. And this is going to be the end of the first video. Recap Video 1. I slapped a Melt-A-Bomb on a sorcerer. That should be the title. It's not going to be the title. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this. Next recap video, I'll probably have another one of my players actually sit down and describe their thoughts. I did just wake up, so I'm sorry if I seemed a bit sillier than usual. Maybe you liked that sort of thing. I don't know you personally. Or maybe I do. Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris. I know so many Chris's. That wasn't the same Chris. I said Chris to 2 different people. Anyways, I'm going to go write down stats and get ready for the roleplay. Probably take a shower and walk to the bank so I can go buy Dark... Oh, hey, I'm buying Dark Vengeance soon. The 7th edition one. I want to get my hands on that book. It's been 18 minutes. 18 minutes and 45 seconds. I'm glad that, you stuck with me this long. If you could get this far, A+ to you for listening to